Come on, here we go. We are live, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to SHALLZ. Sorry for a little bit of the delay. We were dealing with some technical issues. Let me get our... There I am. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Thank you for bearing with us. We really tried to stay, on time with these. But Lyn-Genet and I were working on some issues. And this is what happens when someone all the way from New York is Skyping with somebody all the way here in California. So let's take a look here. I want to introduce you to our guest today on SHALLZ. This is a woman who tremendously changed my life. And I can't wait to tell you all about what she did, how she did it, but she needs a proper introduction. She is the author, here you go, of her book, New York Times bestselling author of The Plan. Her name is Lyn-Genet, The Metabolism Plan, and the woman who changed my life. Let's take a look and get her beautiful face up here. And there she is, Lyn-Genet. Hello and welcome to SHALLZ.
Hi, Shelly June.
Oh, I love it. I love the June. Isn't this the power of the internet and the communication that we can all be intertwined? And now my friends all over understand June and all these things. I love it.
Yeah, it's been so amazing. Not only, of course, us becoming friends, but the positivity that you have, getting me in touch with not just folks in California, but Iran, the UK, Australia, seeing your babies go. Who's that little baby? Bring him on in here.
You saw
Bring
him.
On here.
Come here, Shy. He likes to every once in a while appear in my little pocket. There you are.
Hi, sweetie.
This is our Shy. Say hi to Lyn-Genet. Mommy's doing an important topic on inflammation today. So if you want, you can sit right there because Lyn-Genet will even explain that this has an effect on kids as well.
It's true. In fact, inflammation and many of the things that we are concerned about, whether it's ADHD or mild Asperger's or autism, can actually be really addressed with dietary changes. And we all know it's not the nachos and margaritas that we're expecting to make us healthier, but healthy foods can cause inflammation. And Shali, you got to see that.
I want to go back, Lyn-Genet, if I can, and I want to tell everybody my story because one thing that I have never accepted payment from anybody on my social media accounts to exchange for posting something. And there's been a few people who have said, oh, this is an advertisement. I've never done that. And I share things that I believe in my life, that have worked in my life. And this was one of those things. This is why I'm so excited because it worked for me and it changed my life that I wanted to share this with you. So I wanted to put that out there first because I did get a few messages from people like, oh, this is an ad or whatnot. It is not. This is just something that has worked for not only myself, but people around me. A few years ago, after baby Shyla was born, I was struggling by losing that last 10 pounds that I just couldn't get off of me. Heather walked into the studio. She looked phenomenal. Her hair looked amazing. Her skin looked amazing. She looked lean. She looked happy. She didn't look exhausted at the hours. And I said, Heather, what are you doing? This is Heather, like our reporter. And that's when I heard the first name, Lyn-Genet, and the book. And I got the book. And after that, my whole life changed. So that's my story. Now we have all of our producers practically at Fox 5. Everybody is on this. My cousin did this, lost 15 or 16 pounds. So the success is there. But now I want us to go back, Lyn-Genet, and start from the beginning, the plan. What is this and why does it work?
Well, when I originally started out, I've been a nutritionist. First of all, I've been in the health and food industry for 40 years. I'm 54 years old. And
dang, you look good, girl, 54 years old.
I think it might be Skype. That might be helping. But yeah, no, I started off as a health food baker at the age of 14 because I had been very sickly as a child and I was trying to regain my health. And so I had always been interested in it. And through my years in the restaurant business, I was studying various Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, nutrition, herbology, and I opened up many famous restaurants here in New York, and by the year 2000 hit, I was just like, I don't care how famous I am in the restaurant business, how many stars are coming in. I just really want to help people. And that's when I started concentrating on nutrition. And I opened up a holistic health care center. And that's when I really started to change the paradigm of what I believed, what were healthy foods. Because what I started to see in real time was that healthy foods were causing inflammation. So what does that mean? Inflammation is the basis for every single disease, obesity, and premature aging. And until my work came around, everybody thought, well, if you had inflammation, it was because you were eating fried Oreos, or you were eating pizza every day, or, we were having unhealthy food. But what I started to find out was that healthy foods were causing inflammation. And foods like salmon, Greek yogurt, asparagus, strawberries, quinoa, black beans were causing 2-pound weight gain. Literally, within a few hours of eating these foods, it would cause that much weight gain. But not only that, it would exacerbate whatever was a problem for you. So if you had depression, it would worsen depression. If you had constipation or any digestive issue, it would worsen that. If you had joint pain, if you had migraines, right, whatever you had, these healthy foods were triggering weight gain and whatever was in your genetic health history. So I started to say, well, wait, 85% of my clients are having a really negative response to these healthy foods. And maybe 70% are having a really negative response to yogurt and red peppers and, pasta and sushi. And so I started to track data. And so using this information, somehow or another, I was lucky enough to get involved with a lot of major publications here in New York. And here I am in this little like neighborhood health center, and all these fancy people from Midtown are coming up to Harlem saying, I hear you got the answers. Like, help me. And sure enough, from that first article that I got in More Magazine, I had people coming from all over the world saying, you need to write a book. Mm-hmm. Now, look, I can write a good email, but I do not know how to write a book, or so I thought. But thanks to the help of these folks, I was able to write my first book, The Plan, which has been published in over 15 languages, well over 1 million copies, and it's helped people all over the world with serious diseases, as well as serious weight gain, in control. My goal is to help you understand what your body is saying to you. And here's an interesting thought. When you gain weight from healthy foods, that's your body saying, I love you. Please don't eat this.
I have quite a few people, Lyn-Genet, who are on here. I'm going to encourage, the greatest thing about doing this Skype is that you get to ask your questions of Lyn-Genet, and I will read them to her. So as she is explaining what the plan is and how this works, and I'll share the biggest surprises that I had and how it affected my life. If you do have questions, go ahead and you just type them right here on Facebook, and then I'm able to put it up on the screen and ask Lyn-Genet. So one of the things, Lyn-Genet, that I was really surprised, the way that the plan works, and remind me, because this was a few years ago that I actually did this. It's a three day at the beginning where you're kind of resetting your body and really getting everything out of your body, right?
Right. And here's what's interesting. I'm 54 years old now.
Looks so good.
And I started with this. Oh my God, I love you. You're so sweet. I started off with this 3-day food-based cleanse when I was 25. So it's almost been 30 years. And that's actually been something I haven't really changed that much. So those first 3 days, you're eating till you're full. Folks, I'm telling you, as a woman, you're eating over 2,000 calories. As a guy, you're eating over 2,800 calories. Like, people are literally like, they're like, you expect me to eat vegetables and seeds and I'm going to be full? And then it comes to dinner and they're like, I can't eat my dinner, I'm too full. But that's what happens when you have a meal that's nutritionally based, it's chemically based, it has all the nutrients you need. That being said, during those first 3 days, you're losing anywhere from 5 to 10, maybe plus pounds. But what you're doing is you're lowering inflammation and you're letting your body stop fighting the bad guys. And so we introduce the bad guy. Your body says loud and clear, this isn't working with us. And weight gain is only one of the ways. So those first 3 days, you're coasting through. Yeah, maybe you're having a little detox symptoms. Maybe you're like a little tired, but that's because your body's repairing.
Yes.
And what's really exciting, folks, is that in 1 week, we can decrease insulin for type 2 diabetics by as much as 50%. You folks with high blood pressure meds, we can usually cut you off in 7 to 10 days.
Whoa.
Your body is healing. Shalli, how did you feel when you were doing the cleanse and after?
So I'm getting some questions, and some of this I want you to answer. But the first 3 days, I'll tell you with like the kids, because I had Shyla and she was still little. And I had decided at that point that I was going to do this while I was nursing, but I had you as my coach to make sure that I was doing it right, so I wasn't going to decrease my milk supply. So I did this. The first 3 days, because my bodies were just used to certain foods, I felt a little foggy, but I still managed to work. I still managed to do everything. And then all of a sudden, it was day 4 or 5 that I'm like, I feel better. I have energy. I wasn't napping in that 1 or 2 hours coming home from work and just being, oh my goodness, how am I going to get through the day? I wasn't hungry. I wasn't craving those foods that I used to always eat. And we'll get to those in a minute, because there are people who are asking about the strawberries and the salmon. I can tell you, for years and years and years, I don't eat red meat, Lyn-Genet. I know I've told you this. I was a chicken, turkey girl. I thought I was eating healthy. Always turkey, and my strawberries and my salmon, and I was eating healthy. And I'm like, why can't I lose weight? Then I come to find out, doing this plan, I think what it was 13 days in, that the things that I thought I was doing right with the ground turkey was actually sabotaging me this whole time. I couldn't believe it. Turkey's healthy. I feed it to my kids. I thought I don't eat red meat. That's like healthy. So it's eye-opening. And I want to bring up one of the questions that some people keep asking, because I got a private message from somebody as well in regards to this being difficult. So by the way, for those that are joining us right now, this is Lyn-Genet Reseda. She's a New York Times best-selling author. Her book is called The Metabolism Plan, right? Lyn-Genet, you have the plan as well?
The plan and the metabolism plan.
Okay, yes. So I know a lot of people, I got tons of messages from people who just bought the book off of Amazon. Where else do they get it?
Amazon's probably the easiest. I mean, I hate to feed the big beast, but it's like after a book's been out for 2 to 3 weeks, then they kind of kick them off shelves. So
okay.
Kind of in a way, bookstores need to be better about not always trying to cater to the best sellers. So that's another conversation we could have at another time, is like, how do we make small business better?
Right.
But you can always support Amazon, which does help to support authors.
Okay, so here's a question, Lyn-Genet, that I'm seeing pop up over and over again. This is from Nikki. And Nikki asks, how easy is it to commit to this while life with the kids and living and et cetera, because...
Okay, so Nikki, I'm going to ask you an open-ended question.
Yes.
How many years and how many hours have you spent dieting? How many years and how many hours have you spent going to the doctor? How many years and how many hours have you tried diet after diet and been frustrated? How many years have you been going to exercise classes and wondering why it's not working for you? Here's the deal. I'm pretty sure that it's more than 30 days total. And I tell everyone, you could spend 30 days figuring out what works for you and get a real foundation. We could spend the next 40 to 50 years dieting, feeling frustrated with your body, fighting your body. Your body loves you. When you're not responding well to exercise, to healthy foods, or to healthy diets, it's a reason. It's because these foods are toxic for you. I'm not telling you to eat vegan. I'm not telling you to eat macrobiotic. I'm not telling you to eat paleo. You can eat any way you want. I don't care. This is not really a diet. What it is a way of helping you determine what works for your body. And here's why you might feel frustrated, Nikki. It's because that information changes. I'm going to throw a wrench in this lovely conversation, which is already a little fraught with some drama, is that if you did the plan now, or the metabolism plan, the information that you're going to gather is probably going to change in a few years. That's because your chemistry is always in flux. But your body is always letting you know when something does or doesn't work for you. So those 20 to 30 days that I've developed helps you determine what works for your body now in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 70s, your 80s, and your 90s. So what my goal is to empower you. And that $10 that you spend on my book is going to last you for the next 50 years. Is it a little work? Yeah. But Nikki, are you worth it? I think you are.
Yes. That is what it comes down to, Lyn-Genet, is when people ask me, because it's not, I don't want to not be honest. This was not the easiest thing to do, especially being a mom and going to work at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and then having to cook for my kids who want one thing and my husband who wants some. But I made a decision at that point that I'm important. I have to be healthy because I'm a mother to then 3 kids, now 4 kids. I have to be healthy. And when I got a taste of what it was like to feel good, to have energy, to know what foods are just putting me through the ringer, it was very easy to say, you know what, I love myself and my body that much that I'm just going to take care of it. So you know what, is it worth it to roast my vegetables? Yes. Am I going to be able to get help here and there? Yes. Is it going to be difficult? Yes. But who said sir, you are almost 8 years old. Let me give you a lesson in life. Nothing ever comes easy, right? Get it? Got it.
You know, Shalli, it reminds me of this story, and I wrote about this woman in the first book, and she came to me and she was in tears. She's like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm a writer. I'm lucky enough that I don't have to go into work, but all I do is yell at my kids every day. I feel like a horrible mom. I feel like a horrible person. I can't write. I'm failing at everything, right? And how many of us feel that way, where we're always beating ourselves up? So anyway, we go through the first 7-8 days. You know, that's the honeymoon period, right, Shalli?
Yes.
Everybody's like, they're feeling great. They lose, 7, 8, 10 pounds. And then, sure enough, we introduced a hard-boiled egg. Hard-boiled egg, low calorie, simple. Within 5 minutes, she's screaming at her kids, being the worst person that she thought she could be, worst person, quote unquote. That was a physiological response to an inflammatory food.
Mm-hmm.
You know, foods that don't work for you trigger all the things that you want to fix about yourself. And I think that's why doing the plan resonates with so many people, because we say that the weight loss is the exciting side benefit. You're thinking more clearly, you're better at work, you're better with your family, your mood's better. Yeah, you're losing half a pound a day or more every single day. You're eating till you're full, which is great. But at the end of the day, my goal is to not have you eating like the Lyn-Genet plan. My goal is to have you eating like the SHALLZ plan, and everybody sees you cooking up a storm. You know, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's what you do. You never deprive yourself. You don't go on a juice fast. You don't run 16 miles to offset the wonderful dinners that you make. You just eat the foods that work for you.
Right. And I think the great point that you make is, am I on the plan all day, every day? No. There were days that the food wasn't accessible to me. There was days that I couldn't do it. The greatest part of it is I have the information now. So if I got off the bike, which didn't feel that good anyhow, it was very easy to get back on. So granted, every day, am I following plan 100%? No. But I'll tell you something. I don't eat turkey at all anymore. I don't have salmon at all anymore. I don't eat strawberries at all anymore. I only drink red wine and tequila. This was information and tools that were given to me that now I'm able to make those decisions, and it makes a difference. Lyn-Genet, I went out to dinner with my husband when I first started doing this. I think I told you. I had a halibut, I had French fries, I had a nice little margarita with fresh lime. I woke up the next day and I lost 2 pounds. I could not believe it. I stood on the scale. I'm like, this is a joke, right? But the second I had this much turkey, like a small spoon of it, the next day, I felt bloated. I felt, I just didn't feel like myself. And I gained 2 pounds. So one question that keeps coming up that some are asking, and let's see if I can find it. And friends, if you see some new people that are coming up here, they're asking what's the name of the book and Lyn-Genet's name, go ahead and feel free to answer some of them. Just keep the conversation going so we're not repeating ourselves over and over again.
Shelly, so your double food is turkey.
Yeah.
And my double food are lentils. And this is what's crazy. For 25 plus years, I was a vegan and vegetarian. And I would love to be a vegan and vegetarian full time, but my body does not love it anymore. And who knows, it might change later. Mm-hmm. But I tested 2 tablespoons of lentils and I gained 1.8 pounds. 1.8 pounds. So how does that happen, right? We're always told it's a calorie in, calorie out. How can you gain what is apparently 5,000 calories worth of food from 2 tablespoons of lentils? What happens is when you eat a food that doesn't work for your body, you can almost think of it as like having a peanut allergy and you going into anaphylactic shock. Ooh. Literally that's what's happening, but it's on a smaller scale. And because it's such a small scale, it's not detectable most of the time by blood work. So what we're measuring is how much histamine your body produces in reaction to an inflammatory food. So when you eat a food that doesn't work for your body, your capillaries leak fluid. So your capillaries, you can see like your veins, they start to leak some fluid. And your body starts to hold on to that fluid as a protective mechanism. So that's just short-term water weight gain. Well, you guys know everybody in California and in Australia and Orange County, you guys like to work out, right? How does it stay on as actual weight? Well, when you have that histamine response, the next thing that happens is it causes a cortisol response. And heightened levels of cortisol, hi, sweetie, cause long-term fat storage. So now those strawberries that didn't work for you are causing you to be more stressed out, causing short-term water weight gain and long-term weight gain. But after you have this happen, you start to have a negative feedback response. It was like a domino loop, right? So those heightened levels of cortisol start to affect your hormones. So for women, that's going to mean estrogen dominance, right? So now you're poochy and you're craving carbs and you're more irritable. Mm-hmm. That's kind of every day anyway, right?
Yep.
For men, that's going to decrease testosterone, right? So it's going to be harder to put on muscle mass. And these fluctuating hormones between the cortisol and the estrogen and the testosterone, it starts to attack your thyroid. And that's the master gland for your metabolism. So the idea that your metabolism slows down as you age is a myth, completely untrue. What is true is that the foods that you eat can affect you at a much more effective rate so that your metabolism slows down. So when you identify the foods that don't work for you, for Shelly it's turkey, for me it's for lentils, then we go back to having the digestive function of us in our 20s. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want you to know is that when you're gaining weight from eating healthy foods, that's a wonderful response. But we don't know our baseline foundational foods. And that's when you start to get mad at your body. That's why, like, why can my best friend go spinning? Why can my best friend eat cauliflower? Why can my sister or my brother or my husband eat this? And they're losing weight and I'm not. It's not a deficit in you. It's your body saying, I love you. You just need to listen.
Yeah, I had to listen with feta cheese, Lyn-Genet. That just messed up my war. I ate feta cheese. I'm Persian. My fellow Persians on here, we love that panid ironi, that feta cheese. And that was another one that I had daily. And I'm thinking, oh, it's healthy. I got the low sodium one. And and it wasn't. It was working against me. Some people are asking here, Nazila is saying, what would lentils work for one person and not another? Because she says she feels good with lentils.
And that's great. If something's working for you, I never want to fix it. That's working for you. What we want to identify are the foods that are not working for you. And what's interesting when it comes to lentils is that lentils test differently. So Manuri, I don't know if one day you've had like the brown/green lentils and the masoor dal. You've had them and you're like, oh, that's great. And the next day you have the red lentils and you gain weight and you're like, I don't understand. I just had this exact same meal yesterday. Why am I gaining weight today? That's because lentils test differently, different types of lentils. And at the end of the day, I don't want to make you neurotic and say, oh my God, I have to test every kind of different lentil. Eat the foods that work for you. That's it. It's as simple as that.
Salmon keeps coming up over and over again, Lyn-Genet. Sahel is saying, how does salmon cause inflammation? Because it does in one person, does it cause inflammation in all? And how do you find out what your devil foods are? Do you have to keep weighing yourself? So do you want to describe this and then how you measure it?
That's a great question. So first of all, much of the information that we got and what made salmon so popular was based on the Inuit. And the Inuit are native Eskimo folks, right? So when you're talking about, this is where the genetics of nutrition start to get interesting. Obviously, with Eskimo folks, we have a very limited supply. So our bodies are wonderful machines. If you don't develop the digestive enzymes to convert foods into something that's usable, you die. So the Inuit, aka Eskimo folks, developed digestive enzymes to break down eating salmon multiple times a week because it's a limited food source. Just the same way Northern Europeans developed the digestive enzymes to break down cow's cheese, right? Whereas people from Asia and Africa did not. So we can't ever extrapolate the information that works from one, especially one specialized group to another group. So we've been told, because it worked so well with Inuit folks, eat salmon every day. The problem is we haven't developed the digestive enzymes over tens and tens and tens of generations to do that, right? So for us, the salmon might pose a problem. Now here's what's interesting. Inuit folks usually do not cook their salmon that much. And in fact, it's cooked salmon that's highly inflammatory, whereas salmon sashimi is very low inflammatory. It's the same thing with eggs. Hard-boiled eggs, highly inflammatory. How many of us on diets have gone for the hard-boiled egg? Right? Scrambled eggs, very low inflammatory. Some proteins are very unstable when they're cooked, and salmon happens to be one of them. Now, if salmon is something that works for you, I want you to eat it because it has incredible health benefits. My job is not to teach you or to tell you what you need to eat, ever. My job, my mission is to help you understand why foods are not working for you so you can feel better. Because I've had folks that are 50, 100, 200, 300 pounds overweight, or they have cancer, or they have multiple sclerosis, or they have rheumatoid arthritis, and they come to me in tears and say, Lynn, I'm doing my best most of the time. Why is my body failing me?
When a few of the people that are on here right now are asking about the weight loss, and could you talk about, because a few times I've had people in Lyn-Genet say, oh, that's not healthy for you to lose 10 pounds in 6 days. Can you respond to that?
Actually, it's the healthiest thing you can do if you're eating a high-calorie diet. So for you folks that are saying it's not healthy, yeah, if you're eating a low-calorie diet, if you're fasting, I completely agree with you because that's slowing your metabolism. Remember, SHALLZ was eating over 2,000 calories a day every single day. What she was losing was water-related inflammation, not sodium-related inflammation. Water-related inflammation. So remember how I said how your capillaries, think of this as a capillary, right? And it's leaking all this fluid. Imagine how much stress that's causing in your body. Right? That's what's happening every single day. You eat a food that doesn't work for you. So as you're losing all this inflammatory weight-related inflammation, for a lot of folks, it can be a lot. I had one guy lose 9 pounds in one day. I'm not even kidding.
Wow.
After your body loses all that inflammation, and it can vary from person to person, then what winds up happening is that you're losing half a pound a day every single day. And then when you eat a food that doesn't work for you, you have those capillaries leak that fluid. That's that histamine response, right? That's that inflammatory response. And how much weight you gain in reaction to a food shows how toxic that food is for your body. And that's going to change. So let's say you were eating spinach every single day. You eat spinach every single day, it's going to be an inflammatory food, right? We want to rotate our foods. So let's say, Shalli, you tested spinach and you gained 0.2. It's not the worst food for you, but it's not the best food for you. I'd say keep it out for a few months, retest it, and it's probably going to be a friendly food, right? Every food has its health benefits. Every food has its potential health risks. And the problem for all of us that are trying to eat healthy is if we identify healthy food, we're like, I'm going to eat it every day. Well, guess what happens? Your body can only break those compounds down so often. So what we want to do for you is let's develop a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday menu, and a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday menu, right? And that way you rotate your foods. You don't have to overthink it, but you're eating the foods that work for your body.
Lyn-Genet, could you go back to, Cheryl has a question here. She's saying, how do you know what food doesn't work for you? So part of that whole plan that you do at the beginning, can you just briefly describe what it is and how you're testing this on a day-to-day basis?
Right. So, Cheryl, that's a great question. So when all these articles first came out about me, and I started getting a lot of media attention, people are like, you need to write a book. And I'm like, I can't. There's no way I can do this. I have worked with people one-on-one. There's no way I can make this a template. But you know what winds up happening is when you have enough people believing in what you're doing, and Cheryl, I know there's people that are believing in you, follow your dreams. I figured out a way to develop a method for everyone across the world, whether they're in Turkey, whether they're in Korea, whether they're in Russia, whether they're in the UK, wherever they are, to determine what foods work for them. So I came up with a very systemized days 1 through 20, that's in the plan, and days 1 through 30 in the metabolism plan. And what I have is, after that 3-day food-based cleanse, remember, we're losing all this inflammation. Your body's so happy. What I start to do is I start to develop or introduce the least inflammatory foods. So with Shalli, I remember we tested fish as one of the first foods, completely passed for her. I can't remember was it turkey that was on the second or third protein test?
It was the turkey, yeah.
The turkey. So yeah, Shalli's body was doing great. She was only eating a few proteins. She was only eating chicken, fish, and turkey. So on day 8, normally I wouldn't introduce turkey that early because turkey is the devil in a red dress with high heels and a garter belt.
Ain't that the truth?
It really is. And so, because it doesn't work for 85% of the population. So she's like, this is all I eat. So I said, okay, let's test it. Sure enough, 2-pound weight gain. 2-pound weight gain. Now, many times when we step on the scale, we get very annoyed at our body for doing that. But if you kind of flip the switch on how you're thinking about it, that's Shalli's body saying, I love you. Turkey doesn't work for us. I don't want us to get cancer. Please don't eat this.
And that changed. I haven't had turkey since. I know it. And these foods that you talk about, Lyn-Genet, the strawberries and the salmon and the turkeys and the feta cheese, would that apply to everybody across the board? Or is this something that you really, like, it's a journey you have to go on yourself? I had to read the book, Lyn-Genet, a few times, and I probably have to pick it up again at some point when I'm get out of this mom mode with Shaden right now, because he's still 3.5, almost 4 months. But it does take a few times to be able to understand it because it's confusing. Don't you agree?
Well, basically, and I want to say like this, if you're feeling really confused, then you're smart. The smarter you are, the more confusing it is. The people that have the hardest time with it are doctors and nurses. Like they see the results, they see the decrease in insulin needs, decrease in medications, decrease in blood pressure. But basically, people say it's like Bizarro World. Everything I've ever been taught seems to be untrue. And what I want you to understand is, and as a researcher, I can tell you this, if something works for 70% of the population, as a researcher, as a doctor, as a nurse, what you would tell your patients is, this worked for 70% of the population, do this. But how often do you fall into the 30% it doesn't work for? Right? And what I want you to know is if you're the 30% it doesn't work for, that means it causes inflammation. And inflammation can last for 72 hours.
Yes.
If you're eating that turkey 3 times a week, your body is in a constant state to premature age, gain weight, and be sick. Eating healthy foods. Right? And so what winds up happening is you're trying hard and you see your body's not responding. You're like, I'm broken. There's something wrong with me. And that's where I have a problem, because too many people are coming to me beating themselves up for doing the healthy things, really feeling depressed. And that makes me really sad because, as one woman, I always tell the story. One woman said, Lynn, I love you. It was the strawberries that are making me fat, not the cheesecake. That's my favorite story. Because when we're trying to be healthy, so often we cut out the foods that are fun, right? And we introduce the foods that are healthy. And when our bodies aren't responding, we're beating ourselves up. I don't want you folks to be in that space.
No, especially because I had chocolate and red wine and French fries, and I was losing weight and feeling the best. But can you just touch on that a little bit, just so that people know what the chocolate and the wine and why those, because those are typically the things that you immediately would think, okay, I want to, clean up my diet. Those are the things that usually go out, not on your plan.
Right. So, while I like to bring an ideology into my diet, at the end of the day, no matter how much I want to say, do this and it's going to be healthy for you, I can't do it if it's not based on my research. So there are very few people that are not able to have red wine unless they have a heightened histamine response. And that's why I wrote my third book, The Metabolism Plan, to deal with that. So one of my favorite clients, Scott Conant, you might know him for Top Chef and all sorts of cooking shows. He came in and he's like, I need to lose 20 pounds. And by the way, he lost 20 pounds in 3 weeks. He's like, because I'm on TV and,
Awesome.
I'm starting to look just way too tubby. And he said, as an Italian chef, I can't drink red wine and I can't eat tomato sauce. And we were able to fix both of those things for him so that he could. So often what we identify as the problems are not really the problem. And too often when we're trying to lose weight, we cut the joy out of life. And that's why I bring in the cheese, wine, and chocolate on day 4, because that's usually not the problem for 99% of the population. And of course, if you're the 1% that it does work for, we have an alternate game plan for you until your body starts to heal. Because if you lose a food, that doesn't mean that it's for forever. It just means your body needs a break from it for now.
If we can't touch on the book, because some people are asking, like Parisa is asking, does your book say how to cook these special foods to avoid inflammation? Friends, it's super important. Like we could sit here for hours and talk about this book and then the foods and then this and that. But until you really sit down and open this book and read it a few times to really understand what it is, it's not something that we can answer all the questions in a 40-minute podcast, right, Lyn-Genet?
Right. Who is that who asked that question?
Parisa.
So Parisa, you ask a really good question. Here's the deal. This plan started in New York. Our kitchens are probably smaller than your shoebox. And nobody here cooks. Right, so I had to make these recipes super, super, super easy. But we're as New Yorkers, we're also super, super picky. We're going out to the top restaurants, right? I had to make it super, super tasty. So how do I take people who use their oven as a shoe rack? Their kitchen is the size of your shoe box. Nobody has food in the refrigerator. Everybody's a foodie. How do I make it tasty? So all of my recipes, if they take 5 to 7 minutes of prep, that's kind of a lot. So you do the prep, you cook the food, it's delicious. I have people that have said they've never cooked before and are throwing dinner parties with some of my simplest sauces and dishes that take, once again, 5 to 7 minutes of prep. And now all of a sudden home cooks. That being said, if you never want to cook again in the day of your life, I don't want you to cook. But the problem is that when you eat out, you can have 2 to 3 days worth of sodium, right? So has that ever happened to you where you're like, I eat chicken at home and I'm great, and then I eat chicken out and I gain 2 pounds? What we're going to do on the plan is also going to identify the restaurants that are plan-friendly restaurants. So I know my restaurants in San Diego, I know I'm in Chicago, I know I'm in Toronto, I know I'm in, in New Orleans, I know I'm in Houston, I know I'm in New York, where I can go out and lose weight. And that's what you want. Because there's nothing worse than feeling like you go out to eat in a restaurant and all you can order is the salad, right? And you feel deprived. Once you know the foods that work for you, then you can determine from there the restaurants that work for you. And you should not go out to any restaurant and gain weight. That's my golden rule. You're paying to eat out, you better lose weight or at least stabilize.
I agree. Many questions from Nahid and many others that are asking which book is better to get first.
That's a good question. So, everybody loves the plan because it's like me and Shali hanging out. We're having a glass of wine with you, having some chocolate and some cheese. And it's like your best friend just chatting with you. And for many people, that's all they've needed. For some people, their chemistry is a little more complex. And what wound up happening was after I wrote the plan, I got so many questions. And especially for you San Diegans, I had so many people that really love to exercise, or people that are really stressed out or dealing with autoimmune disease. And what winds up happening is when we have these factors, it might affect your weight loss. So you could start with the plan, and if you find that you have more questions, maybe go to the metabolism plan. The metabolism plan is the closest thing to working with me. I really tried to make it every single question I've gotten over all the years since the plan was written answered. But it's a lot of science, and for some people it can be overwhelming. So if you have a science brain, you're super geeky, go for the metabolism plan. If you're like, I just need to lose a few pounds, I'm going to a wedding, my health is good, I don't exercise too much, use the plan. Both work amazingly.
Okay, I have one more question, Lyn-Genet, and I know that you are in New York and this is late for you, so I so appreciate you doing this, but I do have quite a few of my Persian friends are on here, and I love this question because in your recipe book, there are quite a few Persian recipes. So Roxanne is saying, how do you incorporate your Persian food? It was the coolest thing when I opened up your cookbook and there were like Persian recipes in there.
What I really love about Persian cuisine, and I'm so excited about it, is that, and I've been trying to, so I used to be an anthropologist. It's actually, I started off in anthropology and archaeology. And I'm so interested from an anthropological point of view, the heavy use of herbs in Persian cuisine. And I want to hear back from you Persian folks, especially on this, because I'm trying to compile something, because I'd love to do a cookbook. Persian moms have a very heavy influence in Persian cooking, and the herbs that you use have very strong health benefits. There have been some theories around that because most produce wouldn't grow as well, and I've heard conflicting things. So let's say kale doesn't grow well in Iran. So you would grow parsley and cilantro and all this. Is that the reason they use it to replace the vegetables? They're fascinating questions. But Persian cooking is definitely a cooking of love. The family, the joy, the tradition behind it is amazing. I have had folks that say, I've had some inflammatory effects from Persian cooking. How do I make it less inflammatory? And that's what I love to do with every tradition. So if the cilantro and the heavy amounts of parsley are working for you, it might not work. And here's one interesting theory is that many of the herbs that are used in Persian cooking are heavy detoxifying agents. And we're exposed to so many toxic agents. Mm-hmm. Are you exposing almost a detox symptom when you're having traditional Persian cooking or not? I don't have enough information on this. And this is something I'd love to do more research on.
Well, in the meantime, I'm going to have a little bit of rice because I found out that I can't have rice. All the years my mom's like, stop eating rice. You're getting fat. You're getting fat. And it wasn't the rice. The tahdig, it wasn't that. It was the other things. But Lyn-Genet, the questions, they keep coming in. And I want to, some of them are just repeating themselves. So I encourage everybody to go back and watch this. And we're going to also get this up on an audio podcast so you can listen to this. It'll take a few days to do that, but that way you can listen to this over again in your car on your go. For anybody who's watching right now, Lyn-Genet, could you please just give us where they can find you, your Instagram, your Facebook, your website?
Well, basically, it's pretty. If you type in Lyn-Genet, it's such an unusual name. I think there's me and one person in New Zealand. So it's Lyngenet. You can type in Lyn-Genet Plan, Lyn-Genet Kitchen. I have a restaurant that I just opened up here in New York for all of you New Yorkers. It's all the least inflammatory food. It's healthy comfort food from every country all over the world. But if you type in Lyn-Genet, you're going to type up in social media. And just like Shalli is so responsive to you, that's how I am as well. I love you guys. I love you trying to make your lives better. I love your curiosity. I'm here to engage and to help you, and I learn from you. So when you share your information for me, you help me make me a better nutritionist and a better chef.
There's one young lady who keeps asking a question, and before I let you go, Lynn, I want you to answer her. Nakisa says, does this plant help for insomnia and restless leg?
Oh, Nakisa, yes, absolutely. When it comes to restless leg, a lot of times it's higher levels of oxalic acid. So I would specifically watch out for spinach, Swiss chard, tomato sauce. You might want to see a physical therapist to get your SI joint rebalanced. But for restless leg, this is nonsense. It's so crazy helpful. As far as the insomnia, usually that's from heightened levels of cortisol. We touched a little bit on cortisol in this podcast. I discuss cortisol a lot more in the metabolism plan. And basically what I want you to think is the way we were able to survive and thrive as hunters and gatherers is that we had a basic biological response that kept us awake in times of danger. So if it was highs, right, and tigers wanted to eat humans, you wouldn't sleep well, right? And when you'd hear a rustle in the leaves, you would wake up. You'd have that startle response. There's something for you, my dear, that's causing your cortisol to rise. It could be an inflammatory food. It could be too much exercise. It could be too much stress. But all of this I address in the metabolism plan. Because if you can't sleep, your body can't heal, and you can't lose weight optimally, and your hormones are going to be unbalanced. So please read the metabolism plan.
All these questions about iron deficiency, hair loss, PCOS, all of these things, friends, I share this with you because it had such a profound impact in my life. Not the weight loss was the side effect. It was how I felt. I could run laps around my kids. I had so much energy. I was sleeping well, and I just was a different person. Not that I am not at this moment. I just am not following it the way that I did a few years ago. But when the time is right, which is coming up very soon, Lyn-Genet, you're going to hear from me. I get my balance back. We're going to go back to this. Thank you so much.
Shalli, so I just want to say all of the questions that you were asked were more advanced questions, and those are all addressed in the metabolism plan. Okay. So from hormonal disorders to iron deficiency, those are all things that we cover.
Yes, you gotta read the book. It isn't just like we can sit here on the podcast and just answer these questions, because you really gotta, right, Lyn-Genet, understand the fundamentals of this to be able to incorporate this in your life.
Yes.
I adore you. Congratulations on your new restaurant. I'm gonna come to New York one of these days. I'm just gonna stand there and I'm gonna order everything off the menu in New York. Thank you for spending some time with us, and will you please come back another time and we do this again?
I would love that, Shelly June.
Hi, Jude. Thank you today, Jude. Have a wonderful night, and we will see you back here on SHALLZ too. If you have any questions, you can find Lyn-Genet. Just Google her. You'll see her all over the place. I'll make sure to tag her as well, and you can also email me, helloshalz@gmail.com. Bye, Lyn-Genet, June.
Bye, June.
Bye. Bye, everybody.